But the point that, yeah, the courage to even be willing to lay our lives down for this faith. And that's kind of the heart of why I know what you're getting at with this whole program, is that we're chosen to follow in the footsteps of that same Holy Spirit, and those same giants who've gone before us to give us the faith that we have 2,000 years later.
Well, in so many ways, you know, for a lot of people, it's a checklist. It's the thing I do. I'm this many years old, and so now I get confirmed and move on and just kind of stop going. In the early church, this guy named Hippolytus wrote this book, Apostolic Traditions, and he talked about that for the early church, becoming a Christian, becoming a Catholic, took 3 years because it involved a massive transformation of your entire life. You didn't just, I mean, yeah, Acts of the Apostles, one day, you know, you hear one homily, Peter says, and they say, what do we have to do? Get baptized. Okay, that's the one day, 3,000 people. That happens
with you all the time.
That with me, they're like, what do I do now? I'm like, okay, slow down, folks. But, you know, the church learned that you know, it's going to take 3 years because of this. Because if you're going to live as a Christian, as a real disciple of Jesus, you're going to have to live differently. Like, you're going to have to change. And so those 3 years are dedicated to, like, yeah, confirmation is going to do something to you. It's going to change you, but you have to change too. Like, you have to make a decision to change. And you know, I don't know if you knew this, there were some jobs you couldn't have in the early church and become a Christian. Like, if you were a soldier, you couldn't get baptized unless you stopped. Not because soldiering's bad, but because every morning a soldier would have to go out in the Roman Empire, would have to take a pinch of incense and throw it into a flaming bowl in front of the statue of Caesar and say, Kaiser Kyrios, or Caesar is Lord. But the church said you can't say Jesus is Lord on Sunday and then spend the rest of your week saying someone else is Lord. You have to make a decision. Who's going to be the Lord of your life? One of the things I think Chosen does is it makes everyone stop and say, wait, like, you're going to have to make a decision. This is going to change you. It's a sacrament, sacramental grace. It's going to change you. But you have to be willing to change as well. And that's one of the reasons, one of the many reasons I love this program. Also, for the parents and sponsors guide, because it invites them to the same thing. Like, you might have just checked it off your list when you were whatever years old, but now as you journey with your kids through this, or through your, you know, with your confirmandi, with this, like, you have an opportunity to change as well.
Yeah, and that's something I've seen with the confirmation retreats I've spoken at or been involved in, is that a lot of parents and sponsors, they're not sure about what's going on here. So this is something, and you felt was so important to address them. Why?
Precisely because of what you said. I mean, a lot of times if kids aren't into their faith, it's because mom and dad weren't into their faith. And I can't put my finger on exactly why this shift has happened, you know, but I've been involved in parish youth ministry in many ways since, you know, '97. All right, and it was, you know, back then you almost experienced a little more frequently where kids would almost rebel against their parents by becoming holy and then kind of drag their parents along. And I don't know exactly what's happening, but that's happening less and less. Like, if you're not bringing the whole family together, parents are far more almost controlling spiritually in the lives of their kids. You got to bring them all at the same time, or else the conversions, it often it won't stick, you know, as well or as long, and they're less likely to drag their parents with them. You know, but again, parents in general have a sense that faith's important. They want their kids to have it. So the opportunity is so prime when they bring their kids for confirmation to engage them in the faith, and we miss a beautiful opportunity if we're not reaching out and doing that. You know?
Right. Now the numbers we hear, people, you know, they get confirmed and then a good number just drift away. Yeah. You know, Father, why do you think that's going on? I mean, obviously because of formation and such, but it's a checklist thing. I'm done, and then they come back to church. When's the next time they want to come back to church?
Well, you know, it used to be that they came back when they wanted to get married or when they wanted to have their kids baptized. That's we're finding that's happening less and less because there's this. It doesn't matter. So why would I mean, a generation ago they would come back at marriage or they come back for their kids, but it's like, well, if I don't need it, why would I give it to my kids? Why would I? If I didn't need any of this when I was younger, why would I get married in the church at all? And so they used to, I mean, I know people I spoke with, they used to rely on, well, they'll be back. And the truth of the matter is now they won't. They won't be back unless we go out and get them, you know? Right. And so this is one of the things I love about this is, you mentioned how beautiful it is, how well done it is. There's something about showing up to something like this and watching this and saying, okay, this matters. Because a lot of times, I hate to say it, but like some of the materials that we can hand out are kind of like, well, it's okay, and okay is fine. But we have to realize okay is not fine, you know? This is the gospel. And so this is, it's not the packaging, but it is beautiful. And we know beauty is going to save the world. And we get the beautiful and get them in love with that, and then you can lead them past that to the, the good and the true. But you come upon this, I'm just realizing we need more than ever, I think, to engage with this culture with those absolutes of beauty and goodness and truth.